Hello and welcome to Football League World TV. This is the Peterborough United fan takeover show. My name is Sam Rourke, the chief editor of footballleagueworld.co.uk. I am delighted to be joined by Alex Batt, massive Posh fan and also academy manager on Give Me Sport. Alex, how are we getting on today?
I'm good, thanks, mate. I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, very, very well. As we've said on this show, we're going to be discussing all things Posh. Obviously, we're coming into this episode off a cracking result for Peterborough on the weekend, something we'll touch on a little bit later on in this show. But let's get started. If any Peterborough United fans are watching this show, please do get involved in the comments, whether you're watching on Facebook, Twitter, or YouTube. Leave us some comments on your thoughts on Peterborough's start to the season. Right, Alex, let's rewind to before the season kickoff. Obviously, promotion last term from League One, finishing second, a really strong campaign from Darren Ferguson's side. Back into the Championship after a fair while out of it. I mean, what were your expectations, Alex, heading into this campaign?
I think just survive. I think that's the main thing when you get promoted. We were stuck in League One for so long, and every season it felt like that division was getting stronger and stronger. So to finally get out of it was a massive relief. And now, it's about staying out of it really and staying in the Championship, because we don't want to go up and then bounce straight back down and then get stuck in that division for another 6-7 years or whatever. So yeah, if come May we're just above that relegation zone, I'll be absolutely delighted. I believe we've got enough in the team to do that. I fully expect us to stay up. I really do. I don't know if many Posh fans will agree with that, but I believe in this team. I think we've got a very good side, one of the strongest we've had for a long time. Survival is always the key when you're newly promoted. I think all the newly promoted teams would say that. You just want to survive that first season. So yeah, that's the main aim for me. Avoid relegation and just see how high we can go from there.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's been, in terms of your start to this season, Alex, it's been a relatively slow start, you could say, down in 22nd spot right now, 7 points from 8 games so far. What have you made to the start of the season in general for Posh, Alex? Have you been somewhat disappointed, or is this a kind of start you did expect?
I'm disappointed with the points return, because you take into consideration some of the performances we've had. West Brom at home, I thought we were brilliant. Cardiff at home, we were brilliant. And in both games, we've got sucker punch late on. Cardiff, we were 2-0 up, I think, with 7 minutes to play. And then Aidan Flint does what he does best, it seems, and scores goals. He put 2 behind us, and we're dropping 2 points there. And then West Brom, who are obviously tipped to go straight back up in the automatics, we played just as well as they did, and then last minute we switch off and they score and they win the game. So instead of getting 4 points there, which would have been respectable, we only got the 1. Obviously you could say the Derby game, we scored 2 goals late on there, so swings and roundabouts, but the performances merited more points. Away from home is a big concern, and it's a concern that I'll have for the rest of the season. I simply don't see us getting many points when we're on the road. I think we'll need to change our tactics a lot if we're going to do that. You can accept losing to Luton and Sheffield United away from home, but losing to Preston and Reading was disappointing. Preston hadn't won a game, I think, when we went there, and we didn't really look like we were ever going to challenge them. And then the Reading game, we were really in it. I mean, it was a poor game, but we were in it. And then we capitulate and concede 2 in quick succession, and then this game over. So frustrating results, but promising performances, especially at home. So it's hard to really say if I'm happy or not. The performances suggest that we're good enough, but the results at the minute don't. And at the end of the day, results are going to be the ones that is what keeps you up. So yeah, frustrating, I think, is the word.
Yeah, I suppose it's worth noting that we are only 8 games into the season as well, so there's a long, long way to go. We'll touch on the Birmingham result shortly, but first, let's just touch on that game at Bramall Lane. It was a bit of a standout result on that particular match week. I mean, first half, you competed with Sheffield United, didn't you? But for some reason in that second half, it was a bit of a capitulation. I mean, were you a little bit concerned after that result? I mean, we know Sheffield United are going to be there and thereabouts, aren't they, this season in terms of the promotion picture? But were you a little bit concerned at the manner of that defeat?
Yeah, it's concerning whenever you concede 6, even if it's whoever it's against. You never want to concede that many goals. Like you say, we were well in the game at half time, but for some reason we just completely fell away in the second half. And similar to the Reading game, we conceded goals in quick succession, and the game was taken away from us in a split, in a few minutes, which is tough, especially against a team like Sheffield United. They're a Premier League team last year. Yes, they haven't started very well this year, but they're slowly clicking into gear now, and they were rampant against us. And yeah, you lose 6-2, it's a concern against anyone. So I think heads dropped after that result. I think a lot of Posh fans are quite content with what they'd seen up until Sheffield United, and then to lose 6-2, and then obviously to go and then lose to Reading 3-1. Concerns started to creep in, I think, for a lot of fans, me included. But football's football. You win one week and everyone's buzzing again, and that's exactly what happened on Saturday against Birmingham.
Yeah, absolutely. We've had a comment come in from YouTube. Posh fans do believe we will stay up. The Twitter trolls don't represent the fan base, a small minority of morons. Do you agree with that sentiment, Alex?
Yeah, I really do think we've got enough to stay up. I look at the teams in the Championship, and the top teams are obviously miles away from Peterborough United's level, but there are a handful of teams that we can, on our day, we can beat, and we can get more points than. So I'm convinced we'll stay up. We kept Dembele, we kept Johnson Clark-Harris, we kept Jack Taylor, we've kept some really key players. So I'm with him. I think we'll stay up. I really do.
There we go. Right, let's touch on this last weekend's game against Birmingham. So it was a bit of a funny day in terms of results in the Championship in general. We saw Reading beating Fulham 2-1 away from home, a bit of a shock result. And this one as well, Peterborough winning 3-0 at home to Birmingham. Certainly a standout result, especially given Birmingham's really strong early season form. It certainly wasn't expected really from a lot of people. Alex, we'll come to you. I mean, was this a result you expected? I mean, it started off well, didn't it? After 1 minute, Harley Dean scoring that own goal, it kind of set the tone for the rest of the game, didn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's tricky with Posh because at home I do genuinely back us, because I watched us watched us compete with Cardiff, and I watched us compete with West Brom. And again, although we didn't get the result, we had the performance that shows that we can compete with teams. And on our day, we do have enough to blow teams away. And when the London Road fans are on your side, it does create quite the atmosphere, and the boys can bounce off that. And like you say, you nailed it perfectly there. We started brilliantly, 1-0 up after a minute. Could barely believe that, to be honest. And then it was plain sailing from there. We never looked troubled. We never looked like we were going to concede. And I think the players played really well, and it was a superb bounce back performance from what happened the week prior at Bramall Lane and then also down at Reading. So yeah, I don't think anyone would have predicted 3-0. I don't think many people apart from Posh fans would have predicted Peterborough United to win. I've seen a lot of stuff on Twitter and social media of Birmingham fans before the game saying 3-0 Birmingham, 4-1 Birmingham, 4-0 Birmingham. And I'm fine with that. If other fans want to just think we're going to be the whipping boys, then that's fine by me, because we'll quietly do our business, and we proved on Saturday that we can handle this league, and we can thump anyone we want to, really.
Yeah, absolutely. I suppose that defeat was made even worse for Birmingham fans, as I believe there wasn't any alcohol in the away end at London Road.
Yeah.
So not the best day for if you're from a Blues persuasion. Let's just touch on the formation. I think we saw Ferguson deploy a 4-3-3 in that particular game. Ward and Dembele and Clark-Harris as a front three. It seemed like it worked. I mean, we've seen Ferguson this season kind of tweak his formations, but it sounds to me, or it certainly looks from the outside, that's a formation that works with the current group of players they've got.
Yeah, it worked brilliantly. There was a lot of fans saying Dembele's wasted on the left against Reading, and there is an argument for that. There really is. But when he's that tricky, when he's that quick, when he's that nifty, you do want him down the wing and get into the byline and putting crosses in, and he's brilliant at that. I'm very surprised Posh managed to keep hold of him. I thought someone would come in for him with big money, because he is that good. I think even if we stay up, we probably will be selling him next summer. It's simply what Posh do. But yeah, the formation was right for my opinion. It suits the players we've got. It gives us more balance, and it gives us a better dimension. And that proved on Saturday when we won 3-0. You can't really argue with that result. It wasn't a case of we scraped a win or something like that. We absolutely outplayed Birmingham. So if it's not broke, don't fix it, as they say. But a lot of fans will say that's exactly what Darren Ferguson does too much, as you said as well. He likes to tinker around with things. He likes to change things, and sometimes that doesn't work out. But you can't complain with what we saw on Saturday. It was a fantastic performance all round.
Yeah, absolutely. And George Grant on the score sheet as well, a player that really impressed, certainly at Lincoln in League One last term. Is he a player that you feel can have a real big impact at Posh? And do you think this goal as well will do him a world of good in terms of his confidence?
Yeah, there was a lot of excitement around the club when we landed Grant. There was a lot of fans saying, he's exactly what we needed. It didn't start too well with him, but for some reason we were playing him quite deep in the midfield, which isn't really his strength. He wants to be in those goal-scoring areas, which he was on Saturday, and he proved what he can do when he's in those areas. So hopefully now with Jack Taylor returning to full fitness, and we've got Connor Coventry on in loan from West Ham, and Norburn as well, who's started really well in my opinion. We can now afford to push Grant up the pitch a bit more, and maybe we'll start seeing the best of him, or the Lincoln side of him, so to speak. So I think Saturday's was a big game for him, and scoring will do him no end of good.
Absolutely. Peterborough fans, if you are watching this live show, please do get in the comments. Were you at the game on the weekend against Birmingham? We want to know your thoughts on that particular game and Posh so far this season. Right, let's touch on one of the club's emerging talents. We saw Ron Edwards start at centre-back for Posh on the weekend against the Blues, the young 18-year-old. You feel this could be a real breakthrough season for the youngster. Very comfortable with the ball at his feet, impressing passing range, and he really stood out on the weekend against what was quite an experienced front line for Birmingham. We saw Troy Deeney start the game, and players like Tahith Chong he was up against, and he seemed to handle that really, really well. Alex, just how excited are you about Edwards? Is he someone you feel is the next kind of Posh youngster to come through and be potentially sold on? Because he's being targeted by a lot of top flight clubs right now.
Yeah, he's brilliant. He's so mature for his age. He's got a calm head on his shoulders when he's got the ball at his feet. A lot of times he's happy to have the ball and take it out from the back and then ping it around when he needs to. He's a real good modern day centre back. Long gone are the days where centre backs just hit Rose Ed. It rarely happens these days. You need someone who's confident with the ball at their feet, and Ronnie Edwards looks like that man. Like you say, the fact that he's 18 and he's already starting in the Championship. I don't think many would have expected him to start this early on. There was a lot of hype about him last season, but I think he got a couple of injuries that just prevented his sort of growth and some game time in League One, which would have helped him massively. But we've thrown him really in the deep end at the start of the Championship, and he's absolutely shown that he can swim. He's been brilliant. Like I say, he looks way beyond his years already. And yeah, it's definitely going to be a matter of when, not if, in terms of moving on to probably the Premier League club. And that's what happens at Peterborough United. Whether we buy them from non-league and give them a chance, or whether they come from our own academy, we've got quite a reputation now of developing players and then selling them on. And yeah, Ronnie Edwards certainly will be the name that most people will be looking at now, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Darren Ferguson coming out after the game and saying he was the best young player he's ever managed. That's some praise there from the Posh gaffer. Right, we've had another comment come in on YouTube from Sam Skellett. Thanks for bringing in your comment. How do you think we will cope when Johnson Clark-Harris inevitably gets banned? Do you think we should sign a free agent? Obviously, he's under investigation, isn't he, by the FA with regards to some historic tweets. What do you make of it, Alex? Is he someone who's going to be a massive miss for Posh?
Yeah, it's a massive problem, this, because of not only this for Johnson Clark-Harris, but Jack Marriott as well. He's injured now, and it looks a bad one. So he's got to be months on the sideline. Ricky J. Jones has injured himself as well earlier on in the season. And if you throw in Johnson Clark-Harris, like Sam said, he's obviously going to get that ban at some point. We don't know when it's going to come, but it will come. We're stuck with no strikers. So it will be interesting to see how Fergie and how the club manage that, whether we maybe put Dembele in false nine, or Sammy Smodic in false nine, or even Grant in a false nine, or if we try and sign a free agent. My knowledge of free agents at the minute isn't great, so I can't throw forward a recommendation. But it will be interesting to see what the club do, because it's going to be a massive blow. We've got to hope the ban isn't a substantial one. But I think all the fans and everyone at the club know the ban is coming. It's just when and how we deal with it. But yeah, it's not good timing with the Marriott news as well.
No, absolutely. We'll touch on Jonson Clarke-Harris in a little bit more detail in a little bit later on in this show. But as I said, please do get in your comments. We really do appreciate it. Let's just touch on another player that featured against Birmingham on the weekend. We saw David Cornell start in goal. Obviously, a bit of a kerfuffle with Christy Pym at Reading after the game. We don't know exactly what happened, but Darren Ferguson certainly not very happy with what perspired that particular evening. So we saw Cornell start, and Posh's first clean sheet of the season as well. So in terms of Cornell, Alex, is he someone that you feel could kind of replace Pym quite comfortably? Is he someone that you feel could take that number one shirt moving forwards?
Yeah, well, funnily enough, that the only game I'd seen of him prior to Saturday was when we played Plymouth in the Carabao Cup, and we lost 4-0. But he actually was our man of the match, which says everything you need to know. Really, he was brilliant. He commanded his area. His distribution was great. He looked confident. And you ask any Posh fan, and that goalkeeper spot is the one thing that was debated heavily throughout the summer. I've been vocal about Christy Pym not being tall enough to be a goalkeeper at this level. There's many times where the commentary will read like Pym's got a hand to it, but he hasn't kept it out. And it just happens too many times. We were conceding from crosses way too many times. Not saying that's strictly the goalkeeper's fault, but sometimes you want a goalkeeper to command their area, to come out, punch the ball, grab the ball, buy some time, which could have been great for the Cardiff game and the West Brom game. But Pym doesn't have that in his game. He doesn't come and control to punch the ball. He doesn't come to catch the ball because he doesn't have the frame to do so. A lot of Posh fans have, like I said, have been very critical of him and have wanted him to be replaced for a long time. And now, obviously, this has happened at Reading. Again, like you say, we're not too sure on what's gone down. There's obviously a lot of Twitter rumours spreading around about it, but Fergie, like you say, was pretty outraged after the Birmingham game and went as far as saying, he doesn't see how Pym gets back into his team. So he basically handed the gloves to Cornell and said, "Go on, then, it's yours to lose now," like you say. So I don't think a lot of Posh fans will be too disappointed that this has happened, if I'm honest. I think a lot of fans would have wanted him dropped anyway at some point, but this has given Fergie a reason to do so. So it'll be interesting to see what Cornell can do in the next few games, because obviously, it's a great start, 3-0, but in truth, he wasn't really tested that much. So bigger tests lie ahead, but with whatever Pym did, clearly it's gone too far, and I'd be very surprised to see him in a Posh shirt again.
Yeah, absolutely. Posh fans watching this, what do you make of the whole Christy Pym situation? Is David Cornell an adequate replacement for the season? All right, let's touch on Jonson Clarke-Harris. So Clarke-Harris had a phenomenal season last term in League One, 33 league goals. It really was a standout campaign for the striker. He's 2 goals and 2 assists so far for the forward so far. Alex, do you think he's got it in him to adapt to the rigours and demands of Championship football? Is he a player you can see flourishing at this level?
I can do, yeah, I can see it. And I said it before a ball was kicked, I can see him doing well in the Championship. I still believe he's not 100% fit. We had a lot of fitness issues going into the season where a lot of our key players weren't fit at all. So he's still yet to show his real form, I believe. But like you say, last year he was an absolute animal. He's physical. He can hold the ball up really well. He's a good finisher. He showed he's got the character and the mental strength with the penalty against Lincoln, last kick of the game, to send us up. So he's a classic striker, which I think can perform in the Football League. And the League One to Championship step up is massive, as we know. But I do think he is good enough for this level. I think he will be good enough at this level. And I do think he'll start scoring more regularly once he gets 100% fit, which surely now isn't too far away. He's just that sort of classic Championship striker that you want. You want a big guy up front. You feel safer almost that you've got a big guy up front to hit. And if you're 1-0 down, you can pump balls in the box. But he's not just that either. He has shown that he can score from outside the box. He can run through on goal and play around the back. He's shown that he's versatile in terms of a striker, and he does score all types of goals, which you need when you're going to be struggling at the bottom of the table. You need that one goal scorer who can save you, and I think he is that man.
Yeah, like you say, he's got lots of different qualities that make him a real all-round striker at this level. Just lastly on Clark Harris, obviously we're talking about him amid this backdrop of the potential ban.
Yeah.
But just in terms of his kind of the ways utilised in that Peterborough 11, do you see him as the kind of middleman in that front three, or do you see him as we've seen Jack Marriott play up top alongside him as well? I mean, where do you see him being best fit? Is he better in that front three? Do you feel?
I think so. Yeah, I think the two striker formations really struggle these days. It's gone out the window quite a lot in recent football. Although you've got the whole big man, little man vibe with Clark Harris and Mario, which sort of reminiscence of the Heskey and Owen days of England. Yeah, I don't think it works as well now. So yeah, if I had the choice, it would definitely be Johnson Clark Harris up front by himself, and then flanked by two pacey wingers. And I think that's what's going to happen now with Marriott out for months. Obviously, like you say, we've got the ban to come, but when he is playing, I would definitely want him to be the middleman.
Absolutely. Right, let's touch on Sariki Dembele next. Arguably one of Posh's most prized assets, Sariki Dembele. He started this season in pretty good form as well. Obviously, a key cog last term as well, out playing on that wing. I mean, were you surprised, Alex, that Sariki Dembele stayed around at London Road heading into this campaign? Because there was an array of transfer speculation all summer, being linked to him. I mean, are you first and foremost happy to see him in that Posh shirt, and were you surprised to see him remain?
Yeah, obviously delighted when he stayed. They're hard players to find, people like Dembele. Yes, he can be inconsistent at times, and he can become a passenger if he's not quite in the game. But he's also the one player who gets you on the edge of your seat. He makes you think something's going to happen. Similar to what Marcus Maddison used to be like for Peterborough United. He was a very much Marmite figure within Posh fans, but you could not deny the fact that when he got the ball, you were a bit excited. And Dembele makes me personally feel the exact same. He gets the ball. His first aim is just forward. He'll either pass it forward or he'll charge at the defence. And I don't think Championship defenders like that. I've seen numerous games where he just gets hacked out, almost like Jack Grealish in the Premier League. They can't handle him, so they just wipe him out. Gets us a free kick, gets us up a pitch or in a dangerous area. Against Cardiff, he was unbelievable. Against Reading, he was pretty decent, even though a lot of people thought he was wasted on the left. He was the one who was providing Posh the impetus up front. So the fact that we managed to keep hold of him was huge. Like you say, plenty of clubs wanted him. Luckily, we know Peterborough United in the transfer market aren't going to be, taken for granted. We hold on to our talent unless a big offer comes in, and then we're happy to do business. So clearly, valuations weren't met, and he stayed at Peterborough, and he seems fine with that for now. He was key in the Derby game. He was brilliant in the Cardiff game. Looked good in the Reading game, but yeah, he's the one player in the Posh side who you really think something's going to happen when he gets the ball. So yeah, to keep it, especially when we signed Poku and Randall, it felt like we were buying players to replace Dembele, but that didn't happen, and he's still here, and we've got to enjoy it whilst we have him.
Yeah, certainly capable of that moment of quality, Sariki Dembele. I mean, just how crucial do you think he is in that Posh side? Is it crucial that you keep him fit and firing for the duration of the campaign?
Yeah, I think so. I think we're an immediately worse team without him, quite frankly. Not as far as saying we're a one-man team. By all means, we're not that at all. But he is one of our best players. He's one of our key players, and he's a key cog in that attacking line. And if you lose him, you almost think you have to tweak little bits elsewhere as well. So if he stays fit and if he stays hungry and in this form, there's no reason why he won't become our player of the year, and also will stay in the Championship. And that's ultimately what everyone should want.
Absolutely. Please do send in your comments, Peterborough fans, on Sariki Dembele. Just how important is he for that Posh side this season? Right, let's touch on Darren Ferguson next. Obviously, Darren Ferguson here on his third spell at Posh as manager of the club. He's been there, he's arguably a club legend. I think that's fair to say, Alex. I mean, what's the general feeling about Ferguson, Alex? Do you think, so, I mean, from your perspective, is he someone that you feel can take the Posh forwards? Is he liked amongst the fan base? Just what's the kind of general feeling around Ferguson?
It's a tricky one to summarise, to be honest, because you'd think, given his record and his promotions at the club and the fact that, yeah, he is a legend at the club and the most successful manager the club have had, you'd think he'd be universally loved, but it isn't the case. You know, that I see a lot of people on Twitter that want him out. There is a big Fergie out brigade, if you want to call them, because they don't believe he's the man to take the club forward. His championship record isn't great. He struggled when he was with Posh in the championship. He struggled at Preston. For me, I mean, I love him. You know, I think he's given me some of the best memories as a Peterborough United fan. So it's hard to sort of criticise him. Yes, there's been times where you're frustrated with his decisions. You're frustrated with his formation changes or his substitutions. They're a bit swift, they're a bit messy at times, but you know, he's got us promoted and he deserves this chance in the championship. You know, we've been too trigger happy in times. People will say we shouldn't have sacked X at this time, we shouldn't have sacked X at this time. And ultimately it all comes back to the same. We end up with Darren Ferguson at the helm. So no matter what happens, he'll come back. So I think Ferguson and Darren McCantley together are a good duo. They work well together. And I really do hope he keeps it in the championship. Whether he's the guy to take us to the next step, whatever the next step is in Peterborough's eyes, you know, I can't ever see us being a Premier League team. But is he the man to sustain us in the championship? I couldn't answer that question, to be honest. But I really hope he gets this season, and I really hope the players play for him. And I hope he has the success that he deserves, because it would be nice for him, you know, to keep us in the championship and then go again. You know, we've got a new stadium on the horizon. We've got 3 owners that love the club and financially back the club brilliantly. So yeah, Fergie's a hard one. He's a hard one to call because a lot of fans love him, a lot of fans hate him, and a lot of fans like him one week, hate him next week. So it's football, isn't it? It's fickle out there. So yeah, it's a tough one to describe. But I hope he can have a good season. I really do.
Yeah, absolutely. Posh fans, what do you make of Darren Ferguson? Please do let us know in the comments on whatever platform you're watching. Are you Ferguson in, Ferguson out? What's your stance on the gaffer? Right, let's touch on a few of the summer transfer arrivals next. We're not going to touch on them all, but we're going to touch on a couple of them. Obviously, we saw Jack Marriott come in over the summer, Alex. What have you made of his early impact? I suppose he has been injured for you know, a little part of it. What have you made of his early impact at Posh?
Yeah, it'd be hard to judge him at the minute because he hasn't been fit. He hasn't been 100% fit at all. It's a romantic signing, isn't it? Bringing Jack Marriott back after he was superb for us. And then it didn't really go to plan with Derby. I think Frank Lampard didn't really favour him there, and he's just trying to get his career back on track. So I was happy when we signed him because he is a goal scorer. But at the minute, yeah, he hasn't been 100% fit, and now this injury as well will rule him out for a few months. It's going to be a judgment call on him, but early signs are he's not quite there yet, and he's got a lot of work to do, I think, to show Posh fans that he can still do it, because there will be question marks. You know, he's been inactive for a few years now, so there's big question marks over his head. But as a romantic storyline, you know, a lot of Posh fans were happy to see him back, but so far it hasn't quite worked out as we'd hoped.
Yeah, for sure. Ollie Norburn is a player that's featured fairly heavily in his early stages, the central midfielder. What have you made of his impact so far, Alex?
Yeah, signing of the summer so far for me. I've been really, really pleasantly surprised by his presence in the centre of the midfield. You know, it's a hard position to perfect, and he's done it brilliantly from what I've seen of him so far. He was brilliant against West Brom. I think it was West Brom or Cardiff. I can't remember which game it was, but he was superb. And he just looks like he's played Championship football all his life. You know, he's come in and he's hit the ground running, and he looks so calm and composed, and he links defence to attack nicely, and he can ping balls. He's not afraid to take the ball and run with it. He just looks a really good all-round centre midfielder, and it's something that Posh need. And he looks like a man that can be a really key asset to us this season.
Absolutely. Let's just talk about one more central midfielder that you brought in from West Ham on loan, Connor Coventry. Very, very highly regarded by the Hammers in their kind of youth setups and stuff. I know, again, it is very early days with him at Posh, but is he someone you're excited about seeing a little bit more of? And what have you made of his start to life at Posh?
Yeah, I think going off West Ham fans, I've spoken to a couple when it was announced, and they said, they wanted him to stick around. They thought he'd be on the bench, maybe in the Premier League, but also playing, the Europa League and stuff like that. So if West Ham fans are saying they're disappointed that he's left, you've got to think he's going to be good enough for Peterborough United, and he'll be a key player for us. Again, like you say, very early to comment on him now, but early signs are that he can deliver. I think a lot of people are quite critical of him so far from what they've seen, but it's very early on, so it would be harsh to write him off as of yet. But what West Ham fans are saying, who can judge him better than Peterborough fans at the minute, they're excited by him. They think he's going to be a good player for them, so fingers crossed he can show that throughout the season.
Yeah, absolutely right. Let's touch on that Friday night's game for the Posh. Coventry away on Friday night for Darren Ferguson's men. Peterborough fans, if you're watching, what are your score predictions for Friday night's game? Coventry obviously had a fantastic start to the season, currently in the playoff zone right now, unbeaten at the Coventry Building Society Arena. It's going to be a tough one, you do feel, for Posh on Friday night. Alex, how you feeling ahead of this one, mate?
Not very hopeful. I think if you got me on this show and we were playing anyone away, I'd say I'm not feeling hopeful. I really don't see how many points. I can't see us getting many points away from home all season, to be honest with you. No matter how depressing that sounds, I just worry about us on the road. And like you say, Coventry have started brilliantly. They look really good. They look really sharp. So yeah, I'm not feeling confident at all. If I was offered a point now, I'd absolutely take it. We just need to get the first points away from home on the board sooner rather than later to get that monkey off our back. But yeah, it's a tough game. It's not a game you'd really like. Coventry away, the fans are back there. It's a feel good feeling around Coventry at the minute. So worried, I think, would be the word I use, and not very hopeful at all, sadly.
Would you stick with a similar sort of team that we saw play Birmingham? Obviously, Johnson Clark Harris, we still don't know what's going to happen there. But would you more or less stick to the same 11 that featured against Birmingham?
I think so, yeah. I'm very much one of. I don't think you should really change your plans and your style of football. And I know we're going to get exposed from that because we like to play attacking football, but I'd rather see us go for it and get beat rather than trying to change to try and play the opponent and then lose anyway. We might as well do what suits us best, and that's attacking football. Because if we score early or if we take the lead, and confidence will grow, and the opposition will have to rethink. I don't want to be a team that goes away from home and just sits back and invites pressure. That's not what Peterborough United are about, and I don't think any Peterborough United fan would want to see that. So I'd stick to what we know and what's worked at the minute. Yes, our away form has been dire and something needs to change, but I don't think we need to get to the situation where we're chasing things and trying to change things and being like, oh, let's do this, let's do that. Play your best 11 and go for the win and then see what happens. I'd rather us go for it and lose than just try and defend a 0-0 and then concede anyway.
Right, let's get your score prediction then, Alex, for Coventry on Friday night.
I'll go high scoring because usually Posh games are. So I'll go 3-2 Coventry. I think I'm a realist. I could easily say, yeah, Posh are going to win, but I've got to be real about it, and I don't think we will. I think Coventry have started brilliantly. I'd love to see, obviously, Posh win. Of course I would, but I just think their Coventry will have too much on the day. But I back us to give them a game. At least I hope, anyway. I hope it's less Bramall Lane and Majeski and it's more what we saw on Saturday, but we'll see.
Absolutely. Well, there we go. That's the Peterborough Takeover show wrapped up for another week. Alex, thanks so much for joining me this afternoon. It really is appreciated. Please do check out Alex's work on givemesport.com. Some cracking work over there on that website. Thanks all Posh fans and everyone else for watching this live show this afternoon. And thanks for all the comments during the stream. It really is appreciated. If you can, please do like, subscribe to FLW TV on YouTube. Again, we do appreciate all the new subscribers as we continue to grow out this channel. But once again, Alex, thanks for joining me and we'll see you soon.